Guys, deluded, I'm back again, your favourite YouTuber. Now, Nacho Monreal, arguably, he's not perfect. In fact, what game was it? Cardiff, you could say he's at fault for two of the goals. But in terms of consistency, in terms of if you were to sit at this desk, which I am, and say, out of that whole back five, including the keeper, who is more likely to give you a consistent level of performance? Who is more likely to give you a good level of performance? Who is more likely to make the difference in regards to when you compare to the rest of the defence, including the keeper? It's going to be Monreal. We know we need a left back. We know we're playing a dangerous game, not signing a left back. Monreal was getting on a bit. He's been a fantastic servant for the club and serviceman for the club. When I was thinking about the other day, it might be a reach, but definitely since we moved to the Emirates, or excluding the time of the Henrys and all of that, you look at Alexis Sanchez, you look at Monreal, they're two of his probably best signings. When Monreal initially came, he struggled with consistency, but once he found that, he hasn't looked back. He's been consistent for us in left back. He's put in competent performances at centre half. He's experienced now as well, so you can see the need for keeping him around at the club. But the longer we keep it going, he's 32, turning 33. Kola, we don't know what we're getting. He's good going forward defensively. There's question marks, but regardless of that, his damn right fitness has been an issue in his first season at the club, and hopefully it rectifies in his second season, but we don't know. Maitland-Niles is a makeshift fullback of sorts, while you're looking at João Lopez and a couple other young prospects look promising, but they're clearly not ready. We're playing a dangerous game in regards to a left back. We need one regardless if Monreal's staying, so we're playing a dangerous game, relying on Monreal to stay fit. There's talk of getting a new contract. I mean, there's always been, for the last 2 years, there's been strong talk of him returning to Spain. This year, it looked like it could happen, but it's just paper talk. So I get it. If we're trying to immediately tie down, despite the fact he's 33 and there's not much you can really tie down for the future, if you're trying to give him a new deal so he can't walk away from a free and you can get some sort of fee for him, then cool. If it's a reward for his service and that, I don't agree with it, but I can see why. But for me, I don't think Monreal should get a new deal. If he puts in a consistent performance and at the end of the year we'll sit down and talk, then cool. But and I do think he's not going to massively deteriorate, but I do think we need a new fullback, clearly. Because of his age, if he was to go in a bad bit of form, people will be questioning it. If God forbid, if he gets injured, it might take him a while to recover. I think Monreal takes care of his body a lot, so he wouldn't have these issues. But these are concerns. Just damn right, we're not a retirement home as well. Like you look at Czech, he's getting on a bit. And there's a couple other players added to Monreal. There's a lot of people that probably need to be moved on, whether it's because of age or just stagnating. We clearly just need a left back. If we're gonna bring in a left back and get rid of Kola, if Uno don't fancy him, then that's something else to be had. But yeah, it really stinks. It really stinks. Like, should allow the man to move back home. There's not really much value in terms of transfer money that you can get for him at this moment in time, in my opinion. Despite the fact he's one of the better performing players for Arsenal, it doesn't make sense. So there's no asset to essentially secure. He says he wants to play into his 40s. That's fine and dandy, but playing at Arsenal, there'd be issues. We've also got Liechtenstein as well. So if you could imagine, if Liechtenstein look good as well and Monreal still in form, but if they were in bad form, we could have two past it fullbacks getting destroyed. It really doesn't make sense. If you're going to keep him for an extra year, because obviously Unai Emery, he speaks Spanish, he can help you get your message across to the squad. If nothing more, a voice on the bench, a somewhat leader around the squad and behind the scenes and things that fans don't see, then I can't really disagree with that. But I don't think he should be given a new deal. I think I have to wonder, what does this mean? Because what does this mean for our targets in regards to a left back? I've spoken about it for numerous times. So people whose job is to scout players 24/7 and see areas that need to be identified and improved at the club, they have to, and they clearly are. Because didn't we try and sign that left back that went is it Hamza Mendy or something like that, and he then went to Schalke because of workmate problems? So what is this saying then? Are you saying you can't secure left back targets? You've conceded that you can't bring in a left back. What does this mean with the sort of profile are we looking at if we're going to give him a new deal? Unai Emery has also spoken and said we need to sit down and give him a new deal. I mean, if he proves his fitness and he was this time next year, he's still fit like this, then fair enough. But clearly we need a fullback. Hopefully Kola grows into that scope. But even way, when Monreal, we need to get rid of Monreal, someone else needs to slot in, whether that's from an academy basis or someone's brought in. I see holes in the side. I hope to not be wrong, but I just see, we can see how there's a hole. You look at him, you look at Koscielny, you look at Liechtenstein. Fair enough, he might not be a first team player like that, and I do like him. But every season that goes on, we're going to ask these man more question marks. It's going to be harder on their bodies. That's not me being ageist or anything. That's a fact. Like, it's a young man's sport. Football is a young man's sport, essentially. If you're not young in the body and stuff, then you need to be young in the mind. Like you see with some players, it don't matter how old they get, they're still balling out. But I don't think it should. I don't really think he should be given a new deal. Like I said, God forbid he gets injured. And what does this mean? Obviously, for the model of the club, if we haven't got bans like other clubs and we're not trying to splash and do things that other clubs mean, then surely Monreal is going to either be given the same wages or maybe a rise. It could actually go down. But either way, you're pouring more wages into him, Koscielny, Liechtenstein. If Czech is given a new deal, players that are not the future or are not going to be here within 3 years, it wouldn't make sense if you have to penny pinch and you need to watch what you're doing it so you can invest in other areas in terms of additions. It wouldn't make much sense in my opinion. But I'm not looking at the finances. I'm not training with these man week in, week out, day in, day out, sorry. So I don't know. If Unai's conceded this is what he actually wants to take, then what can I tell him? But for me, as much as I like Monreal, I wouldn't give him a new deal. I also have to feel, what does this mean for Kohler then? Is he not, obviously he's not fit at the moment and he played in pre-season, but does Unai not fancy him fully? Like, what does this mean? Like, are you signing Monreal for another year so that possibly a young man that's in the academy, João Lopez, by the time he turns 18, who's another Spanish lad, is thrown into the mix? I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But for now, man, guys, deluded. Get in a comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish. Thank you for viewing, and I'm out.